All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Canadian Spartan Podcast. We are just coming off a Ultrafecta weekend at Tremblant, and we've got Jonathan here to help us recap the weekend. He participated in the Ultra. Did you do a full Ultrafecta?
Yeah, I have the Ultrafecta.
Yeah. Perfect. So he did it all, and he's going to give us all the details of the weekend. I had massive FOMO. I wasn't there. I was busy doing DECA things. Still wasn't Spartan brand, but anyway, so welcome back, Jonathan. You were on here with us last season, before the Ultra. I think it was before the Ultra.
Yeah, before when we were talking about how we prepared for it.
That's correct. Yes, it was just before. So now he's done two since we last chatted. So, Jonathan, welcome back.
Thank you.
Just to recap, in case we have some new listeners on here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into the recap weekend?
Yeah, for sure. Jonathan Bouchard, live in the Toronto area. I've been doing Spartan since 2014. Historically, I was doing 3 races a year just to get the trifecta medal. Last 3 years, I've been doing 10 plus races a year instead. I've got 35 career Spartan races to date. I've got another about 8 or 9 this year to go. I've podiumed 10 times with this weekend. I've got 10 podiums.
Nice.
Loving Spartan. I try to do all the races in Eastern Canada. I've arranged my schedule for it, so loving it. Training hard for it, and then just racing.
So how many ultras have you done? Because we know you did Tremblant last year. Are you just at 2? Have you done more ultras?
Yeah, no, I'm limited to 2 right now, so it's twice in Tremblant. Now the difficult task is trying to convince the wife to go to Morzine, France, probably for 2025.
Yeah, that one would be fun though.
Oh yeah.
So is your best distance the Beast and the Ultra, or?
Pardon me, Amber?
Is your best distance the Beast and the Ultra, or do you actually prefer shorter distance? Just out of curiosity.
Well, 2 years ago, I would have said the 5K is a young man's game because I never used to podium on the 5s and the 10s. However, my last 2 5Ks, I hit podium and I got first place in my age group. So I am getting better at the shorter game. However, typically, historically, the Beast was my strongest race. And now, well, obviously, I've improved on the Ultra as well. So top 5 overall this year, first in my age group. So yeah, the longer distances seem to be working out for me.
That's awesome. And it's, I mean, we all know, like, obviously you pace it very, very different from a 5K to a 50K ultra. So do you think it's just the longer distance, you know, slower, not slower pace, but more steady pace suits you? Or
so if you look at my times at Brimming compared to Tremblant, I'm essentially only about 30 seconds per kilometer slower, a super to an ultra. So I think my main advantage is I can sustain whatever pace I have, and I can sustain that pace for the entire race, which gives me a clear advantage the longer distance we go, because most people kind of phase out after a certain amount of kilometers. Until you put the ultra loop on the second lap. That kind of throws sticks in your wheels, but until then it was going very well.
It's such a mindset too, because for someone who like Amber, who's like super speed, and you're going to go all out and try, and your brain's going to tell you that you can keep that pace. And then the longer you, but you can't. I mean, maybe you can, Jonathan can, but I think the reason you can is because you've put in so much training. I follow this guy on Strava and I see what he's doing. His pace, it's not a lie. His pace for 30 kilometers is very, very, very fast. Like, I'm always in awe of that pace. So that is I think that's part of conditioning, but part the mindset to know like what the pace is. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And what did you think? So you've done Tremblant twice, and I think you should take us through the race. But before we do that, let's do a rating. How did you rate the course in terms of its difficulty level? Give us a rating on that. Between two.
So if I compare Tremblant to last year's Tremblant, I would say difficulty wise, we're probably talking a minus the ultra loop or 8 kilometers up and down. if you take that out, I would give it maybe a 4 out of 10, to be quite frank, this year compared to last year.
Really?
Last year was a 10 out of 10.
Okay, so the
And
DNF rate last year was fairly high. Like it was
yes.
in the 60s, if not 70% DNF last year, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yeah, it was high. What was the DNF rate like this year, you guys? Do you
I
have
don't
those
think we're quite sure yet. The final
Yeah.
numbers are not quite out. Nick on what the live stream said that there were 250-ish competitors that were signed up, and
Wow.
it looked like there were like 75 maybe that had completed in total, but people don't come too as well. So that's another thing that happens. So but let's just say, so basically, because I feel the exact same way as you until round 2. So let's talk about lap 1 and how that all went down. And then we will talk about lap 2 and the special surprise that we all got.
Oh, yeah. So lap 1 was a breeze, to be quite honest. It was about 23 kilometers long. So it was just over a beast lap. The first up, it was fantastic. It was a gradual up. I ran all the way up to the tree line where we went to the extreme technical terrain and then started power hiking that area. I think on the first loop, that's the only section I actually power hiked. The rest I ran it. And then once you reach the top, we had a good 4 kilometers straight of basically perfect downhill on surface road. So super easy to actually run a fast pace. I was running 325 per kilometer all the way down.
Holy.
And I was in third. I managed to get back in second place. And then I was able to sustain that for a good 4K straight. And then the second uphill was a little tougher. You had to have a combo of running and power hiking depending on the incline on it. But no, at the end of the first lap, I'm like 23K. So I'm already making plans in my mind of, okay, this is going to be 46 kilometers. I had extra water in my transition bucket. I only refilled 1 bladder because I'm like, I have more than enough. I wanted to kind of shed some weight. So I didn't refill my second bladder as much, and it still had a quarter left of water. So I was like, I'll be fine. It's all good. Until we reached the top. And then at the top, they're like, yeah, you guys messed up the ultra loop. Or someone messed it up because everyone messed
You
it
guys
up.
did. Yeah.
I'm going to say the volunteers didn't direct us to the right spot. They're like, you got to do this ultra loop. And then I spoke with Nick. Nick was kind of that checkpoint. He's like, you got to do the ultra loop. I'm like, okay. He's like, you'll see there's some very fun technical terrain. He wasn't lying.
Fun. When anybody in the world of Spartan uses the word fun, I
And
feel
technical.
like you should have a little bit of fear instilled in you in that specific moment. So, okay, just to take our listeners through, when you guys do the ultra, essentially what happens is they do 2 laps of the beast plus an additional 8K approximately. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
now,
we do an
usually
extra
what
8K.
happens.
Yeah, usually it happens on the first loop. So at least you're you're front loaded, right? You do your first loop, you hit transition, you've got 30Ks done. And then you're like, okay, I only have 20 kilometers to go. Plus, all the terrain. So you have a slight advantage.
Right.
It
So
was
normally that's
interesting,
how
though,
it would
because
go. However, at this story, I'm just recapping because some
yeah.
people don't know. However, this year at Tremblant, like Jonathan said, the first lap was just the beast, and then they got the surprise that, oh, by the way, you now have to do the additional 8K plus your second lap of the beast.
But
so
not only that, we had a couple mini ultra loops in the first lap. So, and I actually had someone who I ran for the most of the first lap with. I'll give him a little shout out, Dana. And Dana had all of the hills and the distances in his head. So he was like, okay, this should be this. We're going to get to this. We've got this. And when we got down there, it just kind of wasn't adding up to me because we're not supposed to do the ultra loop on the second lap. So we had done these kind of 2 mini laps. What would you say, a kilometer or so?
Oh, at best, yes.
Yeah. So, but in my head, I was like, there's no way they're going to leave it at this because we'd be 23. So what are they going to give us, 20? And then this is a 43-kilometer race. There's no way. Like Nick would give us 60 kilometers before he would give us 48, So I don't know, getting down there, it just was not adding up. But let's talk about that terrain on the technical fun as Nick would call it.
So this technical fun was in the ultra loop in that additional 8K, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
It started after you had finished that second climb that Jonathan's mentioning. And the climb was, I found that climb really, really brutal. Like the second time brutal. The first time I was like, okay. The second time it felt brutal, but I knew at the top, I'm like, that's it. You're good. You're good to go. Yes, you feel terrible, but you just threw it all out there. And then.
So how long was the climb? Several kilometers.
It's about 4 kilometers, maybe 5 kilometers.
Okay. It was about 4 kilometers up and then about 3.5 down on the first loop.
Okay.
Yeah. So for technical terrain, the way down the first half of it's about 2 kilometers, extreme technicalness. There's no trails, there's no nothing. You're just following markers in the bush. And then eventually halfway through, then you hit trails. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going the right way at least. And then you'd be going down, and all the time I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to get back up this at some point. So following the technicality, and then at some point I thought I reached the end, and then I looked down the hill and I'm like, oh no, there's more markers down there. So keep running down, and you basically make it to the base of Mont Tremblant. And then they make you turn around and basically make you go up the other side of this like unmaintained ski hill, and there's no more trail. So you're expected to climb Mont Tremblant, which was about, I would say, at least 600 to 700 meters vertical for that up. That was about 4 kilometers long. And there's no trail. You're walking on tree stumps, dead trees that are falling all across the place. Worst imaginable terrain possible. It was right there.
You're just bushwhacking, basically, at this point.
Or you're tree whacking.
Yeah.
So
that is epic.
It was.
it was that uphill was the soul crusher. So the difficulty wise for that part was like a 12 out of 10, I would say. It was horrendous. There was the added fact that I was running out of water, so I had to kind of ration my water to not run out. At that point, it was only 19 degrees, but with the sun hitting you and just going up and your heart's elevated, it was like, oh my God, I'm dying here. So by the time I reached the top, I had literally 1 sip left. Like I was taking tiny sips, but I only had 1 tiny sip of water left when I reached the top of the hill, and I was gassed. I was done at that point. And then I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, I got another 8 kilometers of this to do. So
wow.
Yeah. So what would you say that took it from a 4 out of 10 to a
that portion was definitely a 12 out of 10.
12 out of 10,
so
yeah.
I'd probably average it maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10 because of the ultra loop. Definitely would have been easier on the first lap when we weren't as exhausted, probably to come back up that way. So doing it on the second lap was definitely a surprise and really took every energy reserve I had left in me.
And the whole time you're just thinking like, I can't even be mad. I can't even be mad about this.
We signed up for this and we knew the ultra loop was coming.
Of course, something like this would happen. Of course, we wouldn't leave it at 43 or 23 kilometers and then just have a nice day, guys. You know,
I mean, like coming from somebody who does not do ultra races, I kind of love that Spartan threw it in the middle for you guys. Not gonna lie.
I mean, now that it's over, how do you feel about it?
I personally love the course. I like that it had a lot of different specific terrain. So my weakness is the high elevation uphill. So when there's a lot of that, that's where I slow down. It's just, I don't know. It's not that I'm even tired. It's my body doesn't go faster than X speed versus the wide open downhill running is where I'm really strong. I enjoyed that in many parts, they would put 3 or 4 obstacles like literally back to back. So for people who are proficient at obstacles, this was great. It's like, okay, do this, do that, do this. And I was in the pro heat and I would see pro racers messing up obstacles, for example, monkey bars or dropping the Atlas stone. Or I even saw the guy I was battling it out for second place. He dropped the sandbag, which
really
you don't normally see that happen. It's just your body's exhausted from, okay, it's all grip strength or it's all like muscle, like upper body stuff. So it was really compounding on people. So it made it especially difficult.
I love when they do that with the obstacles, and they strategically put the ones back to back that are just gonna hurt.
And
Like
it's so
those
fun.
three specifically, and I love that because then you get to the last one, you're like, "Ooh, this hurts way more than it's supposed to," and it just, I love it. You're so compromised. I love that. Good job, Spartan. Coming from the one who did not do the ultra.
There was some that carries felt to me, and it's maybe because of that ultra loop, maybe probably everything I'll blame on the ultra loop, but everything felt like twice as heavy to me. Could have just been my day, but did you find that too? Okay.
No, it was super heavy. Like this, even the sandbags that are supposed to be 60 pounds for men honestly, they felt like 80 pounds. Maybe they were wet. There was rain, I know, on Thursday.
I was gonna say, did it rain? Yeah.
I had trouble with the hurt hoist, which usually it's a non-issue. It was heavy. Like it weighed at least 100 pounds to drag up. And then we only hit that at the very end. So we're at kilometer like 49 and a half.
Yeah.
That was super tough. But I would vote that the hardest obstacles we did that day was the bucket carry. Once again, Brimming was the bucket carry, and Tremblant was definitely the bucket carry. All uphill.
Just like up the hill.
Up the hill, high elevation gain. And it was tougher on the second one because we had a lot of people doing the beast, and I think it was a sprint that were on the course. So you're stuck behind them. So there's even more time on your feet with the bucket on your shoulder. And it's like, okay, I want to finish this.
And the other part too, I find when you can't see kind of the ending, I feel like we're giving away all the tips to, if Nick ever listens, hopefully he doesn't, but we're giving away what is brutal for a racer. When you see an uphill and you can't see where it turns around, it's mentally, it's mental.
Oh yeah. And there was like 3 false stops for that bucket carry. So yeah, no, it was a tough one.
Yeah. Even the sandbag felt a little tough, just the way the terrain was there. And then and then going right back up a hill. So it felt like there were more kilometers uphill than there were downhill. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Did they do that little like surprise last little loop at the end? Remember last year where you got to the end and you're like at the rope climb and you're like, I'm done. And then you had this like random slightly sloped kilometer to do, and that was the worst one of them all. Did they do that again this year?
They were nice this year on that one. They did all the mean stuff at the top of the hill when we couldn't quit.
Yeah. And then at the bottom it was flat basically. But you had back-to-back obstacles once again, like it was nonstop. So which I was kind of disappointed, Jill, that we didn't hit those obstacles twice that day.
Yeah, that was different. I'm not sure what the rationale was. I know the reason why the ultra loop changed from the map is because it gets they make it on Google Maps and they measure the distance, and then someone goes around with their GPS watch to finish it. But the thing is that the Wi-Fi is terrible in that location, so that affects the GPS, I guess. So that was another part for me. I thought, okay, maybe, and my GPS is like almost the exact same as what the races say, if they're correct. So mine's usually spot on within a couple 100 meters, even on a long distance like that. So I was like, maybe my watch is like it, maybe it's just the GPS or something like that. So there was a little bit of a mistake made due to technology, and it was fixed in such a mind messing you up way. A Spartan way, that's for sure. And I think it makes me think about Spartan has really set up a good business model in that way, because things are going to change when they get out there. They might get to a mountain and then it's actually for real dangerous, not just sticks that we have to climb up, or something's eroded or something and we can't go that way. They don't know that till then, and then they change the map. And if we complain, then we're just whining.
and we're just guaranteeing they're going to do it again.
Yeah, and worse. But I think the overall buzz, I feel like it felt a little bit more positive and happy, and people were really a little bit more into the ultra this year. So maybe that's growing. I felt like there was a bit more of a community in that way. How did you feel about that?
Oh yeah, everyone I saw was in good spirits. I think the DNF rate will be much lower because you had no choice but to finish. Because you couldn't give up in the ultra loop because no one would find you. So
Yeah.
you had to pop back out. And once you pop back out, you were essentially coming down, which you can then wobble your way back down to the festival area. But they're like, you hit transition at kilometer 23. I felt fantastic. Like I could have ran a road marathon right after. So you had no choice but to finish essentially.
Yeah. And I think people did go out thinking, like, I actually went out a little bit hot on the second lap, thinking I'm good now. Like this is my race. And yeah, after that second up the hill, I got a huge slap in the face.
Oh yeah.
But it's cool because I'm sure you feel this way. You learn so many lessons. If you're going to continue to ultra race or just do longer and longer distances, every time you do a race, it's like you've done 10 races. You learn so much, even from how am I going to manage my emotions and how am I going to manage myself just climbing back up this damn hill again while you're going down, 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 knowing I just finished a hill that I barely finished, and now I'm going down. I know there's obstacles up there, and the route finishes up there. Like, how do you manage that? So I feel like there's a lot of, there's so much learning.
And I think the key in that one is you got to focus on what's the task at hand? I'm going uphill in that super technical terrain. I'm going uphill one step at a time. I'm doing Olympus, which I detest. Well, let's focus on getting Olympus completed, right? So really focus at the task at hand. I find my races go by really quick. Like I did them under 8 hours this time, but I'm always thinking, okay, what's the task at hand? And then I'm analyzing my body. Okay, am I hurting anywhere? Should I be readjusting my gait? Should I be readjusting anything? My lean forward? Should I be leaning back? Should my cadence be up? Should I lower it? Obviously scanning the ground 24/7 to make sure you don't trip on a root or a rock or a hole. So to be quite honest, unless my watch beeped every kilometer and I didn't set my timers for, oh, you need a gel right now, or you need a salt pill, or you need water, I would just lose track of time completely. So it's good. Everyone asks me, oh my God, you can run 8, 9, 10, like last year was 11 hours for the ultra. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, it feels like a long day, but it doesn't feel like an 11-hour day. It feels like a 4 or 5 hour long jog, to be quite frank.
So just out of curiosity, what did you do differently this year than last year to prepare? So
overall, volume-wise, running, I've almost doubled my volume. So last year I ran about 3,000 kilometers throughout my year. This year I'm on track for close to 6,000 kilometers by the time I reached December. When I did Brimacombe, I was training for road marathon in Georgina, which I had like a month before the Spartan race. So that was my primary focus. The week after it was Brimacombe, and I told everyone after that race, I was disappointed on the first race on the Super where I came in fourth. And I told my wife, I felt like a hockey player coming back from summer break. Like I was running and I was fit, nutrition was dialed in, but going up that first hill, I didn't feel fit. So what I did for the next following 4 weekends is every weekend I would do double workouts. So the Saturdays I would hit a ski hill. Here it's Mount St. Louis close by. And I would just run up and down nonstop. And then the Sunday I would do my second workout. I'd hit Scouts Valley here, which comes with about 75 meters of elevation gain per loop. And I would just do my long runs on there. So I just focused on task specific running for actual Spartan racing. And then I got to the Ultra in Tremblant, and I'm like, okay, I'm fit to do these hills. Even after that first big climb, I'm like, okay, I feel okay. I'm not dying, like I'm not fit here. So yeah.
And I think I love that you pointed out that you do go find hills and you do train hills, or you find a way to do so, because to be completely honest, I mean, road running and trail running are very, very different. Like
it doesn't translate. You can run 100 kilometers per week on a road, and you do even a 5K Spartan race, you're going to be dying. You need to do hills.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, like, and it goes vice versa too, right? Like if you just want to train trail running, that's not necessarily going to help someone like me who races DECA Fit. So I think important, like you said, to train specifically if you've got big goals in a sport specifically, right? So
I agree.
yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. And I mean, Tyler, who he won the ultra this past weekend, he was on here a couple weeks ago, and we don't have any sort of mountains around us in Brantford, but he's just said like he's gone and found literally the biggest hill, essentially. Like it would be a bunny hill compared to what you have, probably more like a mogul. And he just said like he'll run it 100 times if that's what it means to get the elevation gain that he needs, you know. But finding a way to train specific is what served both of you. So
and Tyler crushed it this weekend. He was a good 45 minutes ahead of me, and I felt that I was doing really great. And then when I saw his time, I'm like, he's a complete machine.
He was out seeking redemption this year. So shout out to Tyler. Congrats on your win. Yeah. Congrats on your redemption race, because I know it meant more than just that for him. He had a rough go last year, as did most with the terrain last year. So yeah, pumped for him on that one. Anyways, okay, well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on here with us.
Yeah, before we
talk
go
about the beast or anything like that.
Yeah, we should talk about the National Series race. I think we should throw something in about that. So just because it was the first one, and Jonathan ran elite. So Jonathan, you ran in the first elite, or actually it's called pro now. It's the pro wave. He had his pro armband for the beast, and it was the first in the National Series. So why don't you walk us through a bit of that race? First of all, how were you feeling the next day?
Oh, I was sore at the start line. It wasn't even funny. I tried to do a warm up, tried to stretch out the calves, the quads, and they were just stiff. So just knowing that they were going to film the start line and take pictures at the start line, I just gunned it. So when it started, I literally gave it everything that I had, and I started strong, and then Sam matched my speed, and he's like, "Are you going to sustain this he asked me, "Are you going to sustain this pace?" And I looked at him, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I got about 15 seconds left in me.
That's hilarious.
So I just did it for the cameras at the start. I was hurting really bad from the get-go, but then kept on pushing. I pulled back my pace. I used it more as a training run because I was hurting, admittedly. It wasn't a good race for me. I still did really well, and I basically ran a clean race that race. However, the legs wouldn't follow. So
understandably,
there's so much you can push your body, right? So
yeah.
But that race, I was the only ultra runner on that heat with the pros.
Okay.
There's one or two guys that ran the beast day before. The rest all had fresh legs, so it wasn't even close.
Yeah, you're just at that point like, all right, see you later, have fun.
Oh yeah. So I participated to say I participated. I came in the pro heat 17 out of 20. So I beat 3 people.
Yay.
But you know what, like in that wave specifically, and it being a national series race, you know, those who are gunning for podium are on fresh legs. So you have to kind of like have that mindset going in and just being okay with that. Wherever you land, and completion, it sounds like was the goal for you. So that's awesome. And I love that you point that out, because it doesn't make you less of an athlete by any means. It just means you had a different intention with that race.
Oh yeah. My A race, my focus was the ultra. And then my mindset was, you know what, I'm dealing with day 1 today, and I gave it 110% for the ultra. And then day 2, my mindset is, well, I'm just getting my Trifecta weekend medal. I'll still give it 110% of what I have left, but I probably had 20% left in me at that point. So I gave it my all.
His 20% is quite high though for anybody watching that. I also did the Ultrafecta, but my goal with those two, just to not stress myself out about it, is it's just a walk to make some new friends. So, and I had a nice walk and did all the obstacles, ran clean races as well, and made some new friends.
But actually, I think it's nice to hear that, you know, you guys as elite racers, and you both podiums, that it's okay to just go out and enjoy a race too, and not put so much pressure on all of them. Because I think a lot of new racers coming in, it's like every race is an A race, and that's just not realistic for your body. Your body will hate you. So I love that you both admittedly said, yeah, like the ultra was their A race, and we enjoyed the rest of the weekend. And I love that for you guys. I think that's awesome.
And sometimes, probably you too, Jill, sometimes you feel a little bit of pressure to perform. So it's
A
nice
little,
to
yeah.
say, okay, I got my podium, I got my ultra. Now I'm just going to enjoy these races, right? You
Right.
can, you're not so stressed out. Oh my God, I don't know, I missed a spear throw. Oh my God, this is,
Yeah.
because oftentimes, if you miss your spear, that just kicked you out of podiums versus getting a
Right.
podium, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually relax, enjoy the race. My favorite race was a sprint that weekend in the afternoon.
Always. Yeah, always.
It's always fun to see people who are different.
Mhm.
And then it's always fun to see where you're going to rank on your third race compared to people on fresh legs. So it kind of tells you, well, okay, it's not that bad.
Well, mine
Um,
didn't even show up on the leaderboard. That's how well mine went.
So let's not ask Jill about the sprint.
I have no idea. I mean, it's on Strava, so you can see it there. It was a very long race, but it was fun. So, and like,
Yeah.
and actually I was walking with other Ultrafecta people. There were quite a few of people doing the Ultrafecta this year. I feel like
Oh,
I
yeah.
spoke to at least 10 people that were doing that and did manage to complete it. And then I knew people ahead of time, like yourself and some of the other ambassadors that were doing the Ultrafecta. So that's kind of cool to see that as well. It's its own little subset community of
Oh, yeah.
people
It
who
is.
just can't get enough. And I'm
So-
actually shocked that Amber doesn't do this, but it's just it's not Amber's time yet. There will be a time when she does this.
Okay, let me just put this in perspective for you guys. Well, you guys were going up a hill for, I don't know, 8 hours. I completed my DECA strong in under 9 minutes. Okay?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
And
that's how we roll.
did you guys obtain is there a record potentially, or was that, I know Zach had a record?
Yeah. So Kevin and I beat our own record. So we had the record of 8:55 up until this past Sunday when we beat it, and we clocked in at 8:36. So yeah,
Nice.
8 minutes is a little bit more my gym than 8 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have to say, when I've done so many different sports, I love the running, I love OCR, I love hybrid racing because there's so many things to conquer. There's so many
Yeah.
places you can go with it. It's not just one thing. So I never say I won't do a thing. There's nothing that I won't probably try. Within reason, of course. But the thing with the ultra was that I knew way back when I was doing more like fast stuff, I knew, yeah, I don't think that's for me, but like it might be for me later, and probably
That's
I'll do
where I'm
something
at.
like that later. So like, if
Yeah.
you've got that in your brain, you probably will do that later.
I will. And you know what? It would take so much training volume in
Yeah.
a completely different area than I needed in right now. That's the only reason I really haven't done it. Because
Yeah.
I'm like you guys, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as best as I can, right? So
For
I
sure.
want to be able to train for that. And right now I'm obviously training a lot of short, fast interval training.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were on the hill for 8 hours, and I was in the DECA arena for 8 minutes. So that was great.
So
And they were
I'll do a DECA if you do next year's Ultra.
Oh, I
Oh,
want you to team up with me for a DECA.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
Let's
can
see how
run.
fast you can run in a DECA arena. You run, I'll do the zones. It'll be a great time.
Perfect.
You just let it rip, Jonathan.
We've heard it now here. Jonathan's got to put in a DECA this year for Amber to do the Ultra next year. So
Fair. You
I
do
feel-
it, and I will.
Okay.
You
it
gotta
won't
go
be
first,
too
though.
hard for you to do the DECA either because you can already run. So
That's
you're
true.
good to go. That's awesome.
true.
Well, this is so exciting. I know there's lots in the books for you coming up, but one big thing, when you do a trifecta, and you don't have to do it all in one weekend, but if you do, you get a really cool, fun, spinny, shiny medal. But if you don't do it all in one weekend, you still get qualified for the World Trifecta Championships in Greece. And Jonathan is going to Greece this year. So
Oh, yay.
yeah. How do
Yeah.
you feel this goes towards training wise, that race? How are you feeling in that department?
So Greece, speaking with Connor, Greece is a lot flatter profile than anything we have here. So it's going to play to my strengths where I can actually open up and run fast. So I'm really looking forward to Greece, and I'm looking at the last year's time. I'm actually optimistic that I can actually podium in my age group.
Heck yeah.
So the strategy this year is I really loaded myself up with races. I have a mixture of Spartan races. I'm doing 3 5 peaks 21K races, which are trail races as well. I just registered for a trail marathon, which is the weekend after Calabogie. So I'm just loading as many races that I can that are basically task specific towards the World Championships, and hopefully I can just crush it.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, good luck. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you back on the podcast again when you're done. When you come home with some bling.
Yeah, there's going to be a time my wife's going to kill me. I am starting to have a big collection of medals here.
I don't know. I was
problem.
talking to your wife on the weekend. She seemed pretty pumped about going to Greece. So
Well, she gets a 2-week vacation out of it. So she's like,
exactly.
there's no way you're going to Greece without bringing me. So
Oh my gosh. No, you would
she
not
was
get away
invited.
with that.
I've been talking about Greece for probably the last 5 years. I always said when I turn 40, we're going to Greece for the Trifecta World Championship, and we're actually going through with it. So.
Oh, I love that. I feel like this is going to be a great year for that. I've heard lots of talk about it. Lots of people are going. So, and every time you hear anybody who's done that race, it's all about the community in Greece. So I'm going to watch you from the sidelines on that one, but that's also a bucket race. For me, my big one is World Tough Mudder this year. So you can only do so many, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
if it was up to me, I might try to do something every weekend, but that my body wouldn't do it anyways. So
No, it's a bad idea. I just came off 3 race weekends in a row, and my body's like hating me right now. I did some interval runs today. My body was like, nope. You just make it stop.
And you have to kind of listen to that if you want to
Yeah.
have, especially like for what you do, Amber, with the short stuff, but also with we have to put in a lot of hours of training. So if you don't listen to the rest cycles and you don't take the breaks, then your body will just take a break. It will just take a break and you won't have a choice. So
I find I get sick. If I train too hard and I don't listen to my body, I just become sick. And then I'm sick for a week, and there's a week skipped of training. So I think over the years, the best thing that I've learned to adapt to is I can read my body really well. I can tell you, okay, this is the absolute maximum I can train. I need to take a rest day tomorrow, because if not, I will be sick in 48 hours. And this year so far, I've been able to avoid any major illness, which is great.
So how many rest days did you take after the Ultrafecta weekend?
I'm still, define rest.
I know we all have a twisted version of rest, but
okay. So how about full rest, meaning nothing out of zone 1? So zone 1 meaning like going for a walk or like playing catch with your kids. That's fine, but not zone 2.
Yeah, so 48 hours was like basically doing nothing, like complete rest, walking around the house, walk around the pool type of stuff, wanting for my legs to recover. I am holding out till 5 days, so I haven't ran yet. I am feeling the itch to go out running, but I'm just letting my legs fully recover. So my first run will be Saturday. However, the last 2 days I've been lifting weights. I've been doing a spin bike, which is low impact. I've been doing laps in the pool the last 2 days as well. So I'm getting back into the groove of things. I just got to start running on Saturday. This morning when I woke up, I'm still waking up at freaking 4:45 a.m. because that's when I train. I did spin bike instead of running because I'm like, I got to follow my own rule. I gave so much advice to so many people during the race. I'm like, take 5 days off. You got to take 5 days off. So I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I'll take 5 days off. I am ready to run, I believe. But I will run only Saturday. So only one more off day, and then I can get to run. It's therapeutic. It's you feel so much better after you run.
It's true, actually.
So
I started
how about
to
you,
embrace
Joe?
the world of running.
I would normally take a little bit more time. I did take 2 days. I took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I took 3 days off, but we played pickleball, which is really like our new favorite thing to do, which is just like little sprint here, little sprint there. So not too high, not too like pretty easygoing. So I guess I didn't really take too much rest off. I'm going to
Classic.
take more rest next week. So yes, I'm not doing a great job. But I did do a workout tonight because I am doing a ruck mile on the weekend, and I didn't put a lot of energy into training for that. So I was like, I should probably go do all the skills with the ruck on and maybe go for a little ruck run, and just to remind myself and just to give confidence that I can do it on the day. So, and
You'll
then
be
I will
fine.
take some days.
You will be fine. The Rec Mile, so if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's the DECA mile with a 20-pound backpack on. For the females, 30 pounds for the males. You basically do the whole DECA with the backpack. And then the only change is that the backpack becomes your med ball for the sit-up.
Yes.
Which I actually like better because
I
you can
liked
actually
that.
like hang on to it, and I just like rip those sit-ups like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
And I
other
did-
than that, the DECA ruck just kind of like, it just hurts different. That's the only way I can describe it to you.
Yes.
But you'll be fine because it's like, it's a mile.
The running
did
was
50K,
fine.
you'll be fine.
The running was fine. I was actually going slow because I know I should be resting, but I just wanted to kind of like just do technique a little bit almost, if you could say.
Yeah.
Even though it's
Okay, well,
fitness.
here's my advice, because I've done the DECA mile, ruck, strong, yada, yada. My one regret now, having done the DECA mile ruck, because you can only go so fast in the zones with 20 pounds on your back, like, you can't get up and over the box as fast as I normally would.
No.
Next time I do it, will send it harder on my runs and completely probably recover the zones.
That's what I was
You can only go so
thinking.
fast in the zones with 20 pounds on your back.
That's what I thought too, because running with 20 pounds is not really a big deal. It's just, it's basically like going up the half of Tremblant.
You'll be fine. The running was honestly the easiest part. With 20 pounds, you don't even feel it. So yeah, just like send it on your runs, recover in the zones, and you'll feel great at the end.
So there you go. I'll be good. And then everything is a little bit chill until the next Spartan race, and then everything will be put into World Tough Mudder, and then we will I can chill after the weekend.
I love that.
Jill planned to do Sulphur Springs 100-kilometer race next summer, and I'll do it with you.
All right, I'm in.
We got a lot of bets going on here. I like it.
I gotta book myself up for next year.
Yeah. Exactly.
We had two of our members do the Sulphur Springs, 2 members from my gym, sorry. Did the Sulphur Springs, not the 100-mile, but they did the half marathon, and they loved it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It definitely complements like OCR training, I would say.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that's all we got for you guys tonight. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us again, Jonathan. It's always a pleasure to have you on with us.
Always a pleasure.
Next time you hear from him, he'll probably be back from Greece, or maybe he'll be sharing with us his DECA experience, since we all know that's coming down the pipeline. Either way, always a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Send me your DECA schedule, Amber. I'll support your gym, and I will attend for a DECA event.
Deal. And if you do, it looks like you guys will see me in Mont Tremblant next year.
Yay, we did it.